Folks, find a seat, please. Happy first day of summer, because that's what it feels like out there. I'm Bonnie Severchik, and I have the privilege of serving as city manager for the past couple of years. And I'm really pleased to be here this evening to talk with you just very, very briefly about the Main Street Renewal project. I will be followed by Jim Talion, the project manager from our Water Resources Department, who will give you more of an overview of the project. And then Tom Woodford from Appalachian Power will give you an overview of the AEP component of the project. And then Jess Gearing from Water Resources will talk about our public information effort as this project moves along. So the Main Street Renewal project, really the vision for this project is straight out of our Downtown 2040 plan. And it is to transform Main Street into a bustling and thriving core with modernized utility infrastructure and renewed streetscaping features that enhance the experience for all who live, work, and play in downtown Lynchburg. We are installing new water lines and updating the sewer and stormwater features because it is absolutely necessary that we increase reliability and capacity, both for our water system, but also critically for our electric system. We are modernizing the underground electrical system. Well, AEP is modernizing the underground electrical system to meet current and future needs. And when all of the underground work is done, we will be updating, as we did on Church Street, the streetscape features to enhance both the pedestrian and driver experiences. So this project really is an incredible partnership between the city and AEP, and we couldn't be more pleased with the relationship that we have with AEP, and hopefully AEP can say the same thing about their relationship with the city. This project has been jointly designed beginning back in the summer of 2018. As you might recall, we shifted from working on Commerce Street to working on Main Street so that we would not have to disrupt business and tear up the streets a second time after we had finished Commerce. So this partnering with AEP actually allows us for greater efficiencies in our planning, our outreach, and our construction. And most importantly, we will only impact Main Street once, not twice. And we also believe that we have cost-sharing opportunities available with Appalachian Power. With that, I am going to introduce Jim Talion, the project manager from Water Resources. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so I'm the project manager of this project for the city. We actually have several project managers because we have multiple entities working on this, but I represent the city of Lynchburg. I'm a civil engineer with the Department of Water Resources and have been with the city for about 15 years. I was also project manager on the previous downtown project and several large infrastructure projects down on the riverfront, so you may have encountered me before. Next, Teresa. So what I wanted to talk about here today is a little bit of how we got where we are, where we're going, why we're here, why we're doing all this. You may recall that it all started with the water system. That earlier this decade, we were having a lot of breaks, a lot of problems with the water system. Before this program began, the average age of a water line in downtown Lynchburg was well over 100 years, and we quickly realized that it was reaching the end of its useful life. And we embarked on a program to replace 49 linear blocks of water main in downtown Lynchburg. It all needs to be replaced. It's all old, and it is all reaching the end of its useful life. So about 3 years ago, next slide, we started our first phase of this project. We started working on, well, this is the entire project. This is where the entire program is going to be. The 49 blocks between Court Street and the river and between 5th Street and 13th Street. All of this will eventually be done, but we have started. Next slide. Yeah, so 3 years ago, we started on the first phase of this project. And this was an 8-block area on Church Street and Main Street and 7th and 8th. And we took about 17, 18 months to perform that work. And from our perspective, and I hope from your perspective, it was a very successful project. We finished on time. We finished well under budget. I was thrilled to be able to return $1 million to the city that we didn't spend that we thought we might need. And overall, I am very pleased with how it ended up, and I think the city in general is, and we hope you, the community, is pleased with how that worked. As we reached the end of that, Bonnie mentioned that we had planned to go to Commerce Street. We were going to make 5 blocks in the Commerce Street area the next place we went. But we were a little ways into designing that project when Appalachian Power approached us and let it be known that they too needed to replace critical infrastructure downtown. And unfortunately, the area where they needed to replace their critical infrastructure was not the area where we were planning to do the next project. So we quickly adjusted our program, switched gears, and decided to move our project, our next phase, to coincide with their phase. So, next slide. So this is the area shown in red there in the center of the map. 4 blocks on Main Street, 1 block on 10th Street between Main and Church. The 4 blocks on Main are between 8th and 12th. That is where this phase of the project will be. And eventually, we will get to all those other phases. Eventually, we will go back to Commerce Street like we had planned to do next. But for now, we're working with AEP on this. We have been working very closely with them. Ever since they first told us that this needed to be done, we started scheduling regular meetings with them. We have very consistently met with them, conference calls, meetings. We had a lot to learn. We had a lot to learn about each other's cultures, about each other's priorities, about how we tend to do work. And there was some learning experiences there, but it was very valuable. And I think now, I hope they would agree that I think we have a really good relationship, a really strong relationship. We hope to make this appear to be one project to y'all. In reality, contractually wise, it's actually 2 totally separate projects. We have our own engineers, they have their engineers. We have our contractors, they have their contractors. We have our managers, they have their managers, they have their budget, we have our budget. But we really want to make it all work together as one project. And I think we're on a really good path to make that happen. The level of cooperation is really strong, and I think we're on a good path to do that. Next. So what are we actually going to do? This, speaking from the city's perspective, we are going to replace virtually everything you see between the building faces on Main Street between 8th and 12th is going to change. All the curb, all the sidewalk, all the streets, all the gutters, 2,000 feet of pipeline, the individual services to every business and residents in that area will be changing. Just everything in that area is going to change. Next slide, Teresa. So yeah, and then once we get above ground, we typically, when we do a project, like I said, it started with the water system, but we never like to do just one thing, and Bonnie spoke to that also, that we don't want to go in and just do the water system and then 5 years later, X years later, have to do something else. We want to do it all at once. This has been the policy of the city for many years. We did that with our CSO program, that when we replaced sewer lines in a neighborhood, we did the water lines and we did the streets and we did the sidewalks so that we only have to do it once. This time we have the added advantage of also doing the electrical system, which is not ours and usually not under our control. But everything you see will be replaced: streets, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, light poles, benches, trash cans, planters, trees. Everything will change. And hopefully for the better. There will be some tough times going through it, but I think that's all I have to say. Next. Oh no, I do have more to say. Oh my gosh. The most important thing, a lot of what I just talked about was possibly old news if you had been following us, but here we have some really specific information that we are basically announcing tonight when we are going to start. And that is September 16th of this year. So a little over 4 months from now, we'll be getting started. We're estimating that it's going to take us between 24 and 27 months to do this project, with a goal of finishing by Thanksgiving of 2021. We will be starting at the 8th Street end of the project and working towards 12th Street, but that we will very quickly be encompassing all blocks. And I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to manage things within a block, and we will not go into detail tonight about that, but I do want to mention that in each block there's 3 corridors. There's a street for driving on, and there's 2 sidewalks. So of those 3 corridors, we have set a goal to never close more than one at a time. And that is something we did not do on phase 1. We did frequently have more disruption than that, but that's part of our goal, is to never disrupt one of those corridors at any one time. We don't know the exact sequence of anything. We don't know how we're going to jump around, but we will have more of that information available at our later meeting in August. And this time I think I'm done, right? So is Tom Woodford here? Tom Woodford with Appalachian Power will talk about his role.
Well, I'm Tom Woodford with Appalachian Power Company, and what I plan to do tonight is a brief overview of the project from Appalachian Power's perspective of what we plan to do and when we're doing it. One thing I'd like to add on from what Jim was saying is this is a project that is unique. I can't think of another occasion, there may have been, but I just can't think of one, where we have teamed with another utility, or especially the water company, to do a joint project as we are on this one. I've always believed that you really don't get to know someone well until you've worked with them. And Jim's exactly right. We're learning a lot of things about each other and the way we do our jobs and such. And we've got a lot of strong professionals both within the city of Lynchburg and Appalachian Power that are working on this project. And I know many of you. In fact, I know most of you that we're working with, and so far to me it's been a pleasure. And I think a big reason why it's going as well as it's going now is the attitude that we're all sharing. And that attitude is one of a positive attitude of, and I was listening to Jim outside a little while ago and he was talking to Tim. And this is something that we've both learned from APCO and the city as we've worked together. At first, we were kind of in the way we do things, and y'all are kind of in the way you do things, which is understandable because we're 2 separate entities. And we do things the way we do things. And we'd say, well, we want to do this. Well, I don't know if y'all can do it that way. It works better for us if we do this. And it was an attitude where I think we were looking at things more of why we couldn't do things together as how can we do things. And when I was dipping into their conversation, what I was hearing is, well, we're looking at doing things this way. And Jim's response was, yeah, I understand that. That might work. And I think that's so important. And what we're doing now is that we're looking at ways and we're talking about ways that we can work together and how we can make things work. And then by talking that way, we're finding that then we're both coming together then and making things work. So why are we doing this project from our perspective? Well, from our perspective, our electrical system in downtown Lynchburg was installed back in the 1930s. We've had a few changes since the 30s with technology, maybe 2 or 3, or maybe a few more, I'm not sure. But during that time, we have had multiple upgrades, multiple repairs, and one thing that's for certain, as we go forward, if we weren't going to take and spend the money that we're doing to make these improvements, we can be assured of the fact that we would be having many, many more repairs to the point that the system just wouldn't carry the load that we're getting. For all the wonderful things the city's doing in the downtown district, Bluff Walk, for one, has been tremendous. And the growth that we're seeing, 9th Street, 5th Street, you name it, it's a constant change here in the city. Everybody wants to move down here, and that's a good thing. The Academy, when it opened earlier this year, was a great thing. So everybody wants to move down, everybody wants to come out to dinner down here. So for our electrical system, that means a growing demand, and it's more difficult on the facilities we have, so we had to upgrade our facilities to a new, much more modern system that can handle the growth that we have today, but more importantly, handle the growth that we have going further, going into the future. So what we hope to do, one, is to improve our electric service reliability. That means when things fail, they don't fail for as long, and we can get them back on quicker. But it also means that when you improve reliability, they don't fail nearly as often. Secondly, as I've already addressed, is we want to make sure that we keep up with the growth, and we keep up with the growth with what we can provide. You can switch on or have you already to the next slide. What our systems upgrades are going to include is we're going to replace the wire, or as we call it, conductor most of the time. So we're going to be replacing the conductor down here with larger sized wire. You know, the wire that we have, it wouldn't do us much good other than having in new wire if we went back with the same size wire. So we're going to be putting in larger, higher capacity wire that can carry the additional electrical growth in this area. We're also going to be installing new transformers, and transformers that we install will be larger with higher capacity, again looking more towards the growth. Putting in new concrete vaults. If anybody of you have been down watching our crews work on 9th Street, Upper 9th Street, they've been installing a large electrical vault. That's the contractors in there now working on that vault. I think at that point they're forming up the walls. We'll install new manholes, new grates, new street lighting when the project's complete. And also we'll be installing switches that when we improve the reliability and we do have an outage, we're going to have switches that will be installed both in the transformers and at other locations where when we have something occur, we're not losing the whole downtown district. With that, we can isolate to what might normally have been a large outage to one that's isolated to being a very small outage that we can address and not as many people lose power. So we'll be doing that also. The project was announced in the summer of 2018. And then the side street work began, about a month and a half ago, back first March 6th, somewhere around that time. So when you look at what we've done since March 6th or so, we've already replaced, for the most part, we're finished with the exception of, I think, some brickwork at 9th Street. So that went quite quickly. I would say it went quicker than most people thought it would go. We've moved on to replacing a vault cover down at the Market Building. I think it took us, about 4 days, maybe, 4 or 5 days to do that. And now we're at 11th Street and moving over to 10th Street. So by doing the side street work that we began in March, what that does for us is by doing that first before we get to Main, it enables us to reduce the disruptions to the downtown area, specifically Main Street, while we're doing work. You know, we can work there and kind of be off to the side before we get into the main part of putting the conductor in on Main. It also adds us some flexibility to reduce and prevent power outages while performing the Main Street work. Okay, you can flip. I touched on it in that our current work that's being done is being done by Carolina Conduit Systems and the New River Electrical Corporation. Carolina Conduit, they build the vaults and they do all the civil work. And then New River Electrical will do the electrical work for us. The project area includes 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th streets. And we've got contractors inspecting and repairing manholes, installing new vaults and vault tops. We also have our crews that are out there. We've had a couple outages here recently that were planned, and they were in conjunction with vault work that we were doing to where they had to come in and lower some of the cable inside the vaults to where they got down below where we had to cut the tops off and then replace that. So our guys are doing some work too, but when we've done them, to be less disruptive to the residents of the area, we came in at 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd have outages from 4 in the morning to about 8 in the morning on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. So we're doing everything we possibly can to be as least disruptive to the residents and commercial businesses as possible. Okay. The current street side activities, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, are on 10th and 11th Street are where we're working now. 10th Street is replacing the vaults and vault tops. And all side street work will be complete prior to September the 6th. So that's our plan there. We're going to begin our construction in the 800th block at 8th and Main Street, and we will work in two parts. We're going to work in the road on Main Street first. So we'll go down from one end to the other and then work the Main Street area, installing we'll be installing our duct banks, vaults, manholes, and then we'll come back after we get that done. Then we'll start the sidewalk work, and then we'll work one side at the time on the sidewalks. I'm not sure if we have a slide for this. I want to mention the access for sure. Again, as Jim told you and Bonnie told you also, we're looking at 24 to 27 months for the project to be completed. I'm sure there are going to be areas that we get ahead of schedule. With Ray, our site manager here, Ray's very good, and when he sees areas that we can pick up time, we will. But on any project like this, and I want to stress this to everyone, and I'm just sticking with an overview, is there unknowns. And at times there will be unknowns that just when you're digging under a street, you don't know what's under there sometimes till you get under there. So at times there will be unknowns that we're going to have to deal with. But I'm very confident in the team that we have that we'll move on and we'll make good time and stick to the times that we have projected. We will provide access to our commercial customers, and we're very sensitive to your businesses. I want to be very clear about that. We're very sensitive to your business, and we do not want to disrupt any more than absolutely necessary. So you will have access to your business. We'll make sure of that. If you have questions specifically in areas where we're working, don't hesitate to come ask us. To the extent possible, we'll do what we can to accommodate you, to the extent possible. And that's in the area where we're working. You know, we can't leave an area we're working and go down and deal with something 2 blocks away. But in the area where we're working, to the extent we can, you know, we're willing to listen to what you have to say and do what we possibly can. There will be some planned power outages during the time that we're working over the next couple of years. But if we do, they will be planned in advance, and we'll notify you and work with you before we take those outages. So the big thing in a project like this, Jess is going to talk about it for sure. Jim's already addressed it, and so is Bonnie, and it's communication. And we'll be here to communicate, and you can talk to any of us in the local office, and you know, we'll keep you abreast the best we possibly can. So that's all I've got. All right, Jess.
Hi, my name is Jess Gearing, and I am the Public Information Officer for the Water Department, but I'm also serving as the PIO representing the city in terms of this project and working with our partners at Appalachian Power and with my various departments across the city as we're all coordinating on this project. So I know we've talked a lot about like what's going on behind the scenes, what are all the details of the utility work and the streetscape work, and a lot of the stuff that honestly, like it's impacting you, but you're wondering, How am I going to know about this project? How is this going to impact me? And how do I prepare in advance for that? So I'd like to talk a little bit about that going forward. So one of the key things that we're doing here at the city is making sure that you have updates of what is happening before it happens. We have a new website for this, which will be linked from the city website, also linking from Appalachian Power from their marketing and media sources, but renewlyh.com will be your main source for information. It's not completely launched right now. If you go to it, you'll actually see a sign-up form, which will, if you put your email address in there, you'll start getting basically weekly updates. It might be a little less than a week at this point, but once the project starts in September, you'll be getting weekly updates about what is happening, what you're seeing happening, and what you can expect. So please go and sign up for that. And then once we have the website completely launched, you'll be getting detour information, and if you are a business in the area, the programming that I'll talk about in a few minutes will have information about that so that you know what you can access and who to talk to at any given time. So one of the key parts of this project is actually Heather Kennedy, if you wouldn't mind just waving so people know. A lot of you guys have already talked with Heather. She's located basically in the middle of the project zone. She's been in the middle of the project for Appalachian Power this past month and a half over at 209 9th Street. And she's our project business liaison. So if you've talked with her, you know that she's going to be looping you in for what's happening, what's going on in your building, access issues, things like that. So she's going to be your main point of contact during the project. If you have questions, concerns, if you know that you're having a big event and you need to prepare for that and let her know, then she'll work with the rest of the construction team to make sure that everybody's on the same page. One of the other key programs that we're launching tonight is actually the city's partnership with the Downtown Lynchburg Association. So we're forming this partnership to work with DLA to creatively market downtown and our businesses during the project. We realize that this project is going to be highly impactful to you. It's not just access for your customers, but it's whether your customers feel safe, happy, excited about coming downtown. So how do we address some of those concerns going forward? So one of the keys for that is this is just a draft. It's going to look very different once we launch the campaign, but we wanted to give you a taste for it. It will feature actual businesses downtown, scenes downtown, things like that. But the overall positive campaign is going to say, hey, all this cool stuff is happening downtown. Look at what you're missing out on. Look at all these awesome restaurants. Look at all these awesome boutiques. Look at the events that we have going on. How do we get people so that they want to come downtown and be a part of this amazing culture that we're building? So we're going to be featuring these campaigns on different sources, like doing video series. Teresa. Doing video series, radio ads, TV ads, print, working with our local news agencies, social media, emails, blogs. There's going to be a comprehensive marketing campaign that will be going out for this. Another opportunity that DLA is working on is providing cooperative advertising opportunities for our downtown businesses. These cooperative opportunities will give you the buy-in at a lower cost to market your business. So whether that's through Lynchburg Living doing feature sponsored ads, whether it's going to be through our local media partners or through other opportunities, they're putting those together and they'll be announcing those at some of their events in the future. So you're going to get lots of communication about this going forward, but we wanted to loop you in advance to know that we're already working on some of these programming opportunities. We will also be running a series of, so far, 3 small business workshops. Now, these workshops are intended to give you the tools and the tips and the basics that you need to survive a large-scale construction project like this. The first one will be held tentatively on June 24th. We'll be blasting you out more information about that with a solid date once we have it. We're going to have Jay of Downtown Pros Consulting come in. He has been a chamber head. He's also worked as a consultant on other large projects like this. So he's going to have lots of great tips for how to survive large-scale infrastructure projects. At the same time, we're also going to have a local marketing expo of local vendors who will come in and talk to you about services, offerings that they can do to support you as you're going through this project. So there will be a great introduction for how to survive this, how to get through it. We'll have lots more information about that going out soon. Now, one of the other positive elements that we're really focusing on is going to be creative construction elements. So some of this will be if you've been in other downtowns, like downtown Roanoke, because they've been going through a lot of their construction. There's signs located throughout downtown encouraging you to find the signs, take pictures, laugh at them. That's really our intent, is to make this a joyful experience for you. So these are going to focus on local southernisms. So fixin' to fix it up, bless our hearts, y'all, gonna be pretty as a peach. You'll look for these signs, we'll have tons of them going up. It's going to be a campaign where people walk by, they smile, they laugh, and then they go into your store, your restaurant, your business. Another program is going to be announced very soon, but we wanted to give you a taste for this. We'll be working with our partners at the James River Council for the Arts and Humanities. Appalachian Power has given us a grant to help out with this project as well. But we'll be doing creative construction fencing that will feature local artists. We're asking artists to envision the future of downtown Lynchburg, what that looks like, how to get artists involved in this project. We want construction to not be just what you think it'll be, you're thinking it's gonna be messy, it's gonna be noisy, it's gonna be in my face. How do we really change the conversation around that and make it something that's a destination? So this is one of the elements we'll do for that. So looking to the future, what is this partnership? What is the future of Lynchburg? How are we designing this? We were really inspired by the words of our 2040 master plan and looking towards creating an exciting atmosphere that makes downtown Lynchburg the heart of the region. The heart of this project between Appalachian Power and the city is really to envision the future, to increase capacity, to increase reliability, and to make this a beautiful, wonderful, safer, welcoming environment for everybody who makes Lynchburg the place where they work, live, and play. So we realize you have a lot of questions. We welcome those questions. We welcome your feedback, your concerns. Please join us in the back of the room. We have lots of different posters set up that will show some of the utility infrastructure, some of the streetscape features, the basic area. There will be folks who can answer business questions, who can answer from Appalachian Power, and who can answer from the city. So please join us in the back, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.